Warfare throughout history has always been a horrifying spectacle. From the clashing of swords in ancient times to the thunderous roar of cannons in the Napoleonic Wars, each era has seen its own unique forms of brutality and destruction. However, World War I introduced a new level of brutality to the battlefield. The advent of industrialized warfare brought with it unprecedented levels of carnage and suffering. The war saw the introduction of machine guns, tanks, and poison gas, each contributing to the immense scale of devastation. Trench warfare created a static and gruesome stalemate. Soldiers lived and fought in muddy, rat-infested trenches, enduring constant shelling and the ever-present threat of enemy snipers. The no-man's land between opposing trenches became a deadly expanse, littered with barbed wire and the bodies of the fallen. New technologies emerged to break this deadlock, and few were as terrifying or controversial as the flamethrower. This weapon, capable of spewing flames over long distances, was designed to flush out enemy soldiers from their entrenched positions and incinerate anything in its path. Developed by the British in the early years of the war, the giant flamethrower was a desperate attempt to overcome the impasse on the Western Front. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to perfect this fearsome device, hoping it would turn the tide of battle in their favor. This monstrous weapon, capable of projecting burning oil over vast distances, would see its infamous debut at the Battle of the Somme. The sight of these flamethrowers in action was both awe-inspiring and horrifying, as they unleashed torrents of fire upon enemy positions. Its use there would forever etch its place in military history. The flamethrower became a symbol of the war's relentless and brutal nature, a testament to the lengths humanity would go to achieve victory. The legacy of the flamethrower, known as the Devil's Breath, serves as a stark reminder of the horrors of war and the devastating impact of technological advancements in warfare. The early 20th century saw incredible leaps in technology, including weaponry. Machine guns, artillery, and high explosives were all improved dramatically. These advancements, however, did not lead to quick victories. Instead, World War I saw the rise of trench warfare, a brutal and static form of combat. Soldiers on both sides found themselves trapped in elaborate systems of trenches. These trenches stretched for hundreds of miles. They were often infested with rats, lice, and disease. The space between enemy lines, known as no man's land, was a treacherous wasteland. It was littered with barbed wire, craters, and the bodies of fallen soldiers. The stalemate on the Western Front led to unimaginable casualties. Millions of men were killed or wounded. Traditional tactics proved ineffective against the defensive firepower of machine guns and artillery. Military leaders on both sides desperately sought a way to break the deadlock. They needed a weapon that could clear enemy trenches and make advancing infantry assaults possible. This need for innovation led to the development of some of the most terrifying weapons ever conceived, including poison gas, tanks, and, of course, the flamethrower. The flamethrower was not a new invention in World War I. Smaller, man-portable versions had existed before the war. However, they possessed limited range and capacity. The British, seeking a weapon of greater scale and impact, developed the Livens Flame Projector. Named after its inventor, Captain William Howard Livens of the Royal Engineers, this weapon was truly a giant among its kind. It was capable of projecting burning oil over distances of up to 100 yards, engulfing enemy trenches in a sea of fire. Section 5. Fueling the Inferno technology of the flame projector. The Livens Flame Projector was a marvel of early 20th century engineering. It consisted of a large cylindrical vessel, often concealed in a dugout or bunker. This vessel was filled with a mixture of crude oil and gasoline. A system of pipes connected the vessel to a series of nozzles positioned along the front line. When activated, compressed air forced the flammable liquid through the pipes and out of the nozzles. The result was a terrifying jet of fire that could reach temperatures of over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Section 6, July 1, 1916. The Somme offensive begins. The Battle of the Somme, launched on July 1, 1916, was one of the bloodiest battles in human history. It marked a significant moment in World War I, where the scale of human loss and the intensity of the fighting reached unprecedented levels. The battle was part of a larger strategy by the Allies to relieve pressure on the French forces at Verdun and to weaken the German army. British and French forces hoped to break through the German lines and end the stalemate on the Western Front. The soldiers, many of whom were young and inexperienced, were filled with a mix of apprehension and determination. They had been preparing for weeks, digging trenches and rehearsing their roles in the upcoming assault. The offensive began with a massive artillery bombardment. For 7 days, the Allied forces unleashed a relentless barrage of shells, hoping to decimate the German defenses and create a path for the infantry to advance. The noise was deafening, and the ground shook continuously under the impact of the explosions. The British fired over 1.5 million shells at German positions. This was one of the largest artillery bombardments in history, intended to destroy barbed wire defenses, trenches, and bunkers. The soldiers believed that this overwhelming firepower would pave the way for a swift and decisive victory. They believed this would obliterate the enemy defenses. However, the reality was far different. The German defenses were more resilient than anticipated, and many of their soldiers had taken refuge in deep bunkers, emerging relatively unscathed after the bombardment. However, the German soldiers were well entrenched. Many survived the bombardment. They had constructed deep and fortified trenches that provided significant protection against the artillery shells. As the bombardment ceased, they quickly manned their positions, ready to repel the advancing Allied troops. The stage was set for a horrific clash of arms. As the Allied soldiers climbed out of their trenches and advanced across no man's land, they were met with a hail of machine gun fire and artillery shells. The battlefield quickly turned into a scene of chaos and carnage, with heavy casualties on both sides. Among the new weapons deployed by the British on that fateful day was the Livens Flame Projector. This terrifying weapon was designed to project a stream of burning fuel into the enemy trenches, causing panic and destruction. It was one of many innovations in warfare that emerged during the Battle of the Somme, highlighting the brutal and evolving nature of the conflict. Section 7. Unleashing Hell, the Flame Projector in Action. The Livens Flame Projector was intended to play a key role in the British assault. The plan was to use the weapon to clear German trenches before the infantry advance. The projectors were positioned along the front line. They were carefully aimed at enemy positions. At a predetermined signal, the valves were opened and the projectors unleashed their fiery contents. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Jets of flame shot across no man's land. They engulfed German trenches in a wave of fire and smoke. Section 8. Evaluating effectiveness, mixed results on the battlefield. The Livens Flame Projector achieved mixed results at the Somme. In some cases it proved highly effective. It cleared enemy trenches and allowed British troops to advance. The psychological impact on German soldiers was undeniable. The sight of a wall of fire racing towards them was terrifying. In other cases, however, the weapon proved unreliable. Sometimes the projectors malfunctioned. They failed to ignite or exploded prematurely, endangering the British troops operating them. Section 9. The Moral Dilemma, Weapon of Controversy. The use of flamethrowers in World War I, like many other new technologies of war, sparked controversy. The horrific burns inflicted on enemy soldiers were considered by some to be inhumane. The psychological trauma inflicted by the weapon was also a point of concern. However, proponents of the flamethrower argued that it was no more or less cruel than other weapons used in the conflict. They pointed to its potential to save the lives of their own soldiers by breaking the stalemate. Section 10. A Lasting Impact, the Legacy of the Flame Projector. The Livens Flame Projector, despite its mixed effectiveness at the Somme, left a lasting impact on military history. It demonstrated the potential of incendiary weapons on a large scale. It paved the way for the development of even more advanced flamethrowers in future conflicts. The weapon also served as a reminder of the horrors of modern warfare. It showed how desperation can drive innovation. Sometimes this innovation leads to the creation of weapons deemed too terrible to contemplate. Section 11. Conclusion. A harbinger of modern warfare. The giant British flamethrower of World War I, a formidable and fearsome weapon, was a product of its time, born from the rapid advancements in industrial technology and the desperate need for new tactics. It stands as a chilling symbol of the escalating brutality of warfare in the 20th century, a period marked by unprecedented destruction and loss of life. Born out of desperation to break the deadly stalemate of trench warfare, Where soldiers were trapped in muddy, disease-ridden trenches for months on end, it ushered in a new era of weapons technology. This era saw the development of increasingly lethal and sophisticated weapons, forever changing the nature of combat. These weapons were capable of inflicting unimaginable suffering on a scale never before seen, leaving behind a trail of devastation and horror. The Livens Flame Projector, though flawed and controversial, represented a significant leap in military technology. It was a weapon that could project a stream of fire over a considerable distance, causing chaos and fear among enemy troops. Despite its limitations, it played its part in shaping the landscape of modern warfare. The innovations and lessons learned from its use influenced the development of future weapons and tactics. It served as a grim harbinger of the increasingly destructive technologies that would come to define future conflicts. The legacy of the flamethrower and other such weapons is a stark reminder of the relentless march of military innovation and the ever-present potential for human ingenuity to be turned towards destruction.